Kia ora! This presentation explores who ākonga are as culturally located learners and as disciplinary literacy learners, and why recognising both is essential for the success in post-primary education. These objectives guide the presentation. First, we define what it means to be culturally located learners. Then we examine how Te Tiriti o Waitangi, the Treaty of Waitangi, influences education in Aotearoa, New Zealand. Next, we explore disciplinary literacy within a selected learning area. And finally, we reflect on how culture and disciplinary knowledge intersect in post-primary education. Ākonga, which is students, are culturally located learners whose identity, language, cultural values, and community shape how they experience learning. When we recognise ākonga as culturally located, we see their language, their traditions, and family expectations, which offer unique perspectives. These perspectives not only shape how they learn, but also enrich the classroom, allowing deeper cultural understanding and critical thinking. The Treaty of Waitangi established a partnership between Māori and the Crown, forming the bicultural foundation of education in New Zealand. This foundation supports culturally responsive teaching that values the identity, languages, and cultures of all ākonga. Planning teaching without recognising students' cultural and social backgrounds can limit learning. Culturally responsive pedagogy encourages teachers to build relationships with students, recognise their prior knowledge, and create opportunities for learners to share their cultures and perspectives. Historically, education in Aotearoa often marginalised Māori language and knowledge systems through assimilationist schooling. Colonial education systems prioritised European language and knowledge. Māori language and cultural practices were often excluded in school. This contributed to the dislocation of Māori culture. The historical exclusion didn't just impact individual students, it created long-term educational disparities, limiting Māori participation and success. Recognising this history is important because it highlights the importance of why the education system is focusing so hard on reversing Māori educational disparities. In an effort to address historical and ongoing educational disparities faced by Māori, the Ministry of Education developed Tā Taiako and Ka Hikitea. Tā Taiako focuses on culturally responsive competencies, helping teachers reflect on their practice to support Māori. Ka Hikitea is the Māori Education Success Strategy, aimed at accelerating Māori student achievement across all areas. In addition, the ministry developed Tapasa, a framework designed specifically to support Pacifica learners, guiding educators to understand and respond to the unique cultural contexts and aspirations of Pacifica students as they navigate the New Zealand education system. Together, these resources help create more equitable, inclusive learning environments where all students can thrive. In this slide, there is an example of culturally located learners focusing on Pacifica students. Pacifica is a term used in education to describe students from Pacific nations such as Samoa, Tonga, Niue, the Cook Islands, and Fiji. These students can often come from communities where family, church, and community are central to daily life. Culturally responsive teaching honours these influences, drawing on the knowledge and experience of ākonga. For example, ākonga might prioritise community obligations or church events, which can affect when and how they engage with schoolwork. By recognising this, teachers can build stronger relationships and develop classrooms that affirm student ideas. In addition to Tapasa, which provides a framework for culturally responsive teaching, the Pacific Education Action Plan 2020 to 2030 is also essential. Key step 3 of the action plan calls for every teacher, leader, and education professional to take coordinated steps to become culturally competent with Pacifica learners. It emphasises examining how history and stories are taught and shared, ensuring these reflect the diverse communities in our classrooms. Teachers are encouraged to identify new texts and stories that represent Pacifica learners and their families, and to find resources to enrich the curriculum. The plan also recommends that teachers deepen their understanding of Pacifica cultural values, histories, and languages, using tapasa to guide their professional learning and development in culturally sustaining practices. What is disciplinary literacy? Disciplinary literacy refers to the specific ways of reading, writing, thinking, and communicating within different subjects. Each subject has its own ways of analysing information, constructing knowledge, using evidence, and communicating ideas. In social studies, we bring together different perspectives from history, geography, and economics to understand how people, places, and systems interact. In history, students develop literacy by analysing primary sources, thinking about cause and consequence, continuity and change, and evaluating different historical viewpoints. In geography, they focus on literacy skills like understanding human environment interaction, sustainability, and population and migration trends. In economics, literacy means being able to interpret market systems, supply and demand, understanding scarcity and choice, and interpreting economic data. So, to sum it up, disciplinary literacy in social sciences means students learn to think like historians, geographers, economists, and social scientists. In the classroom, this might look like students analysing a local issue, such as urban development. Each discipline approaches the issue differently. A geographer might analyse spatial patterns and how land is used. An economist might consider property values and resource use. A historian might investigate how the area has changed over time. Activities like this also encourage students to consider multiple perspectives, which is a key part of learning in the social sciences. So, who are ākonga as culturally located learners? They are students who bring their language, cultural values, and community experiences with them into the classroom. These factors influence how students see the world, how they communicate, and how they approach learning. Rather than seeing culture as something separate from learning, culturally responsive teaching recognises that students' cultural knowledge and lived experiences are valuable resources in the learning process. In New Zealand, this is particularly important because education is shaped by the treaty. Frameworks developed by the Ministry of Education, such as Tatayako and Tapasa, support teachers in recognising the importance of students' cultural identities and incorporating them into teaching practice. When teachers acknowledge and build on these cultural strengths, students are more likely to feel valued, included, and engaged in their learning. So, who are ākonga as disciplinary literacy learners? Disciplinary literacy provides ākonga the tools to think like experts in each subject instead of just memorizing facts. Students learn how to ask the right questions, evaluate evidence, and communicate their ideas effectively. In the social sciences, for example, being able to interpret economic data or historical sources with a critical eye helps students become active citizens who can participate meaningfully in society. When we tie disciplinary literacy to students' cultural strengths, we empower them to bring their whole selves to learning, making academic success more accessible and meaningful. In summary, ākonga thrive when their cultural identity and disciplinary learning go hand in hand. When teachers recognise ākonga as both culturally located learners, they create learning environments where students see themselves reflected in the subjects they study. By connecting their cultural knowledge to the skills of each discipline, students engage more deeply, think critically, and become confident, independent learners. In this way, culture and discipline together create a powerful foundation for success.